Lindsay, Jenny, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Lindsay, Jenny, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, perfect. You can turn your cameras on and we're going to get ready to get started. You can,
You see me?
yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Good. Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday, May 13th, 2021 study session and regular governing board meeting. Ms. Tucker, would you be kind enough to do a roll call, please?
Thank you, President Adams. Governing Board members present, Governing Board President, Mr. Bill Adams. Governing Board Vice President, Ms. Nikki Whaley. Governing Board members, Mr. Larry Herrera. And participating remotely, Governing Board members, Ms. Lindsay Peterson and Ms. Jenny Abbott Bayardi.
Thank you. May I have an adoption of the May 13th, 2021 special meeting agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. And may I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Hi.
All those in favor. Thank you. Motion passes. So now we're going to go into information and discussion items, and we are now going to be into our study sessions. So guys, forgive me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And this is very, very special after our really unique start to this year and coming off of last year. I want to start off by just saying thank you to my fellow board members. It's been a very difficult time, especially to our new board members. You've not had much of an opportunity to really say much, and this is going to be and over our next study sessions, you'll have a great voice, I can assure you. One of the things that I wished to do was I wanted to, Ms. Tucker, you were going to go ahead and
I'm going to pull them up.
Okay, thank you. I had sent everybody a president's report, 100-day report back in April. And what I had said was I just wanted to compliment everybody on the job that we did as a team under those very unique situations. Our communication was at the highest level for all stakeholders, and we provided over now 4 million plus meals to our families during that time. We distributed all the Chromebooks and the Wi-Fi to our students, and we've had them returned. We've offered the PE to our employees and filtration systems. We showed faith to our superintendent and administration. We provided vaccinations to our staff, in which several of you were kind enough to volunteer at those events, and I thank you so much for that. And we also let our staff know how much we appreciated them at those events. And during that time, as the schools opened up, you all started visiting schools on not only on your own behalf, but also on the board's behalf. So for that, I also thank you. Under those unique circumstances, as a board, we actually accomplished a lot. I had asked you all to allow me some grace in that we didn't tackle any heavy issues until we got the schools opened up. And now those schools are opened up, and as a matter of fact, we can see this afternoon with the CDC, hopefully there'll be some other changes coming down the pike, some positive changes. But we all wish to have these study sessions. There's been a large voice to have study sessions. And we try to, normally, under normal circumstances, we have one large study session in the summer. And as soon as those schools opened up, with Shannon's help, we tried to arrange for us to do that, to have one large major study session. But everybody's busy this summer. So, and tonight we'll be talking more about it, about how we want to, how we want to move forward with our study sessions. We were unable for all of us to come together for that one day. So with that, and I forgive me guys if I'm stumbling a little bit. It's been a while since I've done a study session like this. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and again welcome everybody and thank you all so much for, like I said, just giving me the grace to hold fast for those first couple months. And so now we're going to go on to the purpose of a study session. And Ms. Tucker, I believe you have something for us there.
Yes, thank you, President Adams. You had asked me to research and look at our policy and our procedures regarding how often and what the purpose of study sessions are. And so I went to a lot of the highly effective school board, the 8 signs of highly effective school boards and some of the associations. And what we have landed in is study sessions are opportunities for the school board to learn more about specific topics or to discuss a single topic in more depth. Workshops may also be scheduled for the purpose of conducting board member trainings and development. No decisions are made at study sessions.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the logistics behind this, and we'll have an open conversation now about the frequency of the study sessions. And as I had mentioned before, that historically, Washington Elementary, we conduct our study sessions in June or July. This is a unique situation. This is very, very unique that we're going to just have to spread it out over amount of time. Ms. Tucker, I have nothing for you. I'm just going to move forward with it, correct?
Uh-huh.
Thank you. So with that, let's talk about the frequency of the study sessions. And we have one in June, I believe. We have a June 8th.
June 8th.
That one's a quasi-major study session because it starts at 4, I believe. It's right there. It's 4 to 7. It's right in front of me. I apologize. So I'm going to open it up to the floor to get some comments and let me know what you all think about the frequency. Dr. Stanton.
Mr. Adams, I do believe that Mrs. Tucker does have some ideas on what other districts are doing if you wish that information.
Thank you. Tucker?
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned that earlier. Historically, this district has had one major study session in the summer where we do self-evals, goal setting, we review the year. But I looked at other districts to see how often they conducted study sessions, and I found that most of them schedule 2 to 3 a year, or as needed, obviously. For example, our sister district, Glendale Elementary, they schedule them on the second Thursday of the month as needed. But Phoenix L, Dysart does them, they've had 2 since July 2020, and they schedule them as needed. Deer Valley, as needed, they've held 2 since July 2020. So it just varies. Most of them, they don't pre-schedule them ahead of time. They schedule them as needed, but there's only usually 1 a month, and most of them have them before the regular held meeting, as opposed to a separate day.
Are you, okay.
Similar to what we're doing today, holding it before our regular scheduled meeting.
Okay. Ms. Whaley?
Thank you, President Adams. Just to add some additional information, do study sessions all over the state. So the research that you quoted, the 8 characteristics, is from DeVericus and O'Brien, and it was a research of effective boards. And one of the effectiveness, the 8 characteristics, is that school boards that come together and learn together and talk about issues together see better student achievement. And so it has become a best practice to do those sessions, and they're different than your regular meetings because it's an opportunity to talk more freely about vision setting, goals, reflection, desires, and get people back on track. My experience also in some of our neighboring ones, I know Tellison L does theirs. They've been doing one every other week or one a month. So on the weeks that they're not doing school board sessions. So I do believe that 2 or 3 is usually a minimum, but a lot of the ones that I've worked with probably schedule about 4 a year. So I'm not saying we need to do that many, but I am glad that we're having the conversation because I think we currently do one that's 4 to 6 hours once a year. And these other sessions are 4 to 8 hours, 2 to 3 times a year. So I think we're way under where we could be. And I recognize that that's difficult to do for people working boards, but I think it is an essential part of our role as board members because we simply can't have the types of conversation and planning that is required just by single votes through the dais. So I look forward to hearing what other people think in terms of the frequency and then later the topics. Thank you.
Any other board members? Okay, this is going to be quick. Thank you, Ms. Whaley. We'll move on to the length. The average. Ms. Tucker, do you want to add anything right now for the length, or do I just keep going?
I pretty much found some of exactly what Nikki said. I found when I did the research that some of them, the length was an average of 1 to 2 hours before a board meeting. So that's in line with what she was saying. I mean, they have bigger ones, depends on the topic, obviously, but I show that the average length was 1 to 2 hours, study session once a month.
Thank you. So with that information, I'm going to go ahead and open up for discussion with the board members. Is there any desire in regards to, any thoughts on how long a study session should last? Yes, Lindsay.
Thank you, President Adams. I guess I would just say, we know in learning that a huge, long session of learning doesn't yield the same results as frequent, small sessions of learning. So just coming at it from an education standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to me that we would hold those meetings more frequently, but have them be shorter than to have them these big, long sessions in the summer to cover so many things. I think things are going to come up throughout the year, and ideas might need to be shared, and I like the idea of shorter meetings that are more focused than that long session. And maybe need both.
So quality versus quantity. Did you hear me? Lindsay? Did you hear what I said in regards to the quality versus quantity? The quality of it should be, okay.
And the quantity. President Adams?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I understood Ms. Peterson to say quantity so that we can do little snippets throughout the year. I too would agree that things like right before the board meeting usually, sorry, kick this up over here, and have them be a little more frequent as issues come up and things we need to talk about and discuss. So I think it's quantity, right, Ms. Peterson, as well as quality, of course, but littler snippets. Is that right? That's how I feel.
Yeah, I would say that even the increased quantity will improve the quality,
Yep.
Ms. Ferreira?
Thank you, President Adams. Can you just kind of cover what sort of topics, items are covered? I think that would probably help the
I apologize.
audience with that.
All right, we're going to do topics.
Oh, okay.
That's,
I thought it would have been first, but, okay, yeah, that would probably determine what's needed, like a self-evaluation or a self-checkup, similar to the superintendent evaluation, we do that 4 times a year. So if we're gonna do that 4 times a year, I think it would probably be a good idea to at least do 4 times a year for a board study session, because that would probably go in alignment with the superintendent evaluation, in my humble opinion.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Whaley?
I appreciate hearing from the colleagues. I think all of that equals up to the time. So if Ms. Tucker is saying 1 to 2 hours a year, we're talking about 12 to 24 hours. Mr. Herrera is talking about possibly 4 times a year, in line with what we do with our superintendent evaluations, which can last 2 to 3 hours. We're looking at 8 to 12 hours there as well. So it sounds like, we're kind of getting a common theme there. Not to talk about specific topics, but what I have seen a lot of boards do is do 2 hours on a single topic, and then 4 hours or 6 hours spread up between 2 sessions on deeper topics. So if they were going to review a strategic plan, they would do 2 3-hour sessions on strategic plan. Or if they wanted to do a single topic like communication protocols, it would be a couple hours before a meeting. So I think, to Mr. Herrera's point, it does depend a lot on what we want to tackle. But I am encouraged that the board seems to be willing to invest more time in our development.
Thank you. I would assume that the topics will drive the amount of time and the frequency of when we meet. And which I'm fine with. I mean, if there's topics, we'll, as a matter of fact, does anybody else have anything to add in regards to the length of the study sessions? Okay, so we've got and Ms. Tucker, you'll go ahead and you'll recap all this for us, correct? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So that'll lead us into the topics, which we can all. This is an opportunity for us to we're just going to throw things out and see what we come up with. But what we thought we would do, Shannon, I'm going to go ahead and just say what we're going to do with these is we're all going to come up with some topics. And I believe we're going to capture everything that the board members say. And then we're going to email them out. Am I correct?
Well, what I was hoping we could do, if we had time, and it looks like we probably will, based on the schedule today, is discuss topics that board members are interested in having as study sessions. I will create a list. I'm guessing that the list will be more than 2 or 3. And then I will send them out, and we'll do it the same way we kind of do the ASBA priorities. So I'll send everything that is listed, and then we'll have everyone prioritize them. And then I'll bring them back before the board so we can see which ones floated to the top or had consensus.
And then that will drive what the next couple of study sessions may look like. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about our topics that you all wish to have a study session on. And the floor is open to board members. Anybody?
I do. I want to bring back the programs that we have for, like, the behavioral PBIS, stuff like that. I want to talk about the programs that are actually working, and it really comes back from a 2018-17 study session I think we had in the summer where we were talking about what actually was working, what programs are out there working, what current curriculum we're working. So one, I guess, would be behavioral programs that are evaluation to evaluate the ones that we're using, because one of the things that I did find quick discussion on that. Visiting schools is that every school had something different. They were actually doing something different reading programs. Some schools had this, that, reading 180. List goes on and on and on. And, you know, just kind of evaluate what's out there, what are they using, not just for evaluation, but also for curriculum. And well, the second was curriculum, kind of an overall picture, especially right now with COVID, because that's kind of one of the biggest concerns talking to parents is, how is my child going to catch up? You know, what's going to happen? You know, the fifth grader is now backed up to a fourth grader. COVID's going to be generational. I mean, the study impacts now have, there's studies out there all over the place where, you know, teachers are just not going to catch up. You know, it's just going to be, it's going to be generational. Similar to that to a bond not passing, and now programs aren't implemented by school districts, and we're going to be losing some children. I mean, now we're down 2,000 kids, and you know, parents are going elsewhere. They're figuring, hey, my kid can do it online, why not? You know, so now we got the an additional challenge now with charter schools, or hey, go online now. Before those schools didn't work, they would open up shop and then they'd last 6 months and then go away. But now that's going to be a challenge. So definitely curriculum, and then also behavioral programs. Thank
The
you.
curriculum and behavioral programs.
Assessment and evaluation.
Dr. Stan, is that, when we have our large, I have no idea what to call the
I'm not sure how you
4-hour
word
study
it,
session.
so.
Are these, is that something that you go over by department?
Mr. Adams, that's not typically what we've gone over, but it certainly can be something we can.
good enough.
I mean, so as long as we capture it correctly and then the board prioritizes, I understand it.
Maybe
So
we
what-
can go by some of the old agendas that we used to have for like the summer ones that you used to do. I know that.
And we could certainly also, in that, if we just choose that session when we do, show the reasons, Mr. Herrera, people are leaving, because although you brought up the other types of schools, and that's been a little higher this year, it's been about 9% for the schools you mentioned typically. So we could always show that data as well. It's something that Kathy's team collects all the time, so we could show exactly where people are going and why.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Larry, is that it?
No, I'll let somebody else have. I had
Okay.
something else, but it'll probably come up.
Board members, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I have, yeah. Thank you, President Adams. I'd like a study session on our special education programs, particularly our self-contained programs, or our programs that are housed, or CPK programs that are housed in various campuses. And I think, you know, included in that, it would be our gifted programs as well. And then I also am very interested in our curriculum development, and procurement, and where we are in that, so.
Thank you. Jenny, you have anything?
Yes, this is President Adams, this is Jenny. So I think definitely some type of study session on like our goals and priorities and our mission, to then give some leadership as to where our district's headed. And then, you know, it trickles down so that everybody, you know, does what they need to do to get to those goals. And I'm not sure that I know I'm new, but I'm not sure that I know what our goals are as a district. And now I think they probably might change because of COVID. So I know the social emotional learning component supported by social workers is something that's very important to me, but having an open discussion about if that's part of our priority and our goals, then how do we move forward on that? So again, I'm not really sure how study sessions work, but digging through some of the things, I echo some of the things that Lindsay was talking about as well, and maybe equitable education tied into curriculum, tied into social work. Like, I don't know if it all ties together or not. I'm not sure, but those are some of my ideas.
So, Lindsay, I'm sorry, Jenny, can we, goal setting can be one subject, and then a conversation on social workers could be another. Am I?
Yeah, totally, yeah. And the need for, or the data to support or not support, or where we need additional, resources in that area, that type of thing. I'm just kind of throwing, sorry, I'm finishing up the track meet here, but throwing out a bunch of things and, however they pan out.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Whaley?
Thank you, President Adams. So there's a few things that I has been on my list for a little while, but I think that a really good place to start would be with our strategic plan. I know we have the umbrella and the different components of the umbrella, and I know that we've done a really good job over the last couple of years making sure that our 90-day plans throughout the different departments are aligning to that. So I do give kudos to that. I appreciate the alignment. I appreciate knowing that people are working from the same plan. However, it has been a while since we've looked at that. Things have changed, board members have changed, and there was not an opportunity for, I believe, a majority of us to have that. I was not part of that conversation. I don't know if Larry was here yet or not. And I know Jenny and Lindsay were not. So I definitely think that would be, in my professional opinion, that's usually what I recommend for boards, is that before they start creating a bunch of study sessions and gathering a bunch of data, that they get on the same page in terms of what their priorities and goals are as a board, and find where the commonalities are so that they can tackle those first and then work from there. So I think a study session or a retreat study session, whatever you want to call it, I don't think that's going to be a 1 to 2 hour thing. I think that would be one of our meatier ones, and topics going from there. I think another really good tool that I've used and that boards have liked that to help them with what should the board's goals be and what should the board's focus be is a board self-evaluation. In that tool, you can identify where the board thinks they are in terms of infrastructure, accountability, advocacy, et cetera. And it really has helped identify gaps where there's a difference of opinion on how board members feel about a certain area, and can really identify where some time would be well spent to avoid any future conflict. So I think that would be my primary desire, is to do both of those things, something around strategic plan and something around the board self-evaluation. Just personally, I'm really interested in communication protocols in terms of internal and external. I think we've done a lot of work on the staff side. We're still progressing there, but in terms of, the communication and keeping them involved in that, I would like to look at our practices and concerns around concerns, complaints with regards to family, community, and students. I would like to look at our protocols for how we intentionally embed stakeholder feedback into our decision-making process, and then how we in turn communicate those decisions out to the community so that they understand. And then I'd also like to look at our professional development, both as a board, but the way that we prioritize professional development for our teachers and our staff members, not just our teachers, but our staff members across the district, specifically with regards to cultural awareness, empathy, and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody's come up with some really good ideas. The only thing that I would add to it is I think that we need to have a discussion on the EBT, the Employee Benefit Trust. I believe that the EBT needs greater direction from what this board would wish, and to be educated on the EBT. So just EBT, conversation on EBT. Guidance from the board.
President Adams, sorry, this is Jenny. Can you tell me what EBT is?
It's the insurance for the employees. It's the Employee Benefit Trust.
Oh.
So it's been a long, long time since this board has given direction. The board needs to be educated on exactly what that trust does. That'd be the first thing. The second point would be to hear what administration has to say about it, and then give direction as to what we wish to do for our employees. And there's a lot of moving parts, and it's complicated. But I'm on that board, but I think that the board needs to have a voice in giving direction as to what they wish to do. So I'd like to have a conversation about that, that's all. And it may be a low priority, by the way, it may never come to a study session. So that's one of the, Mr. Herrera.
No, go ahead, finish.
No, I was just going to say that one of the, what we're going to do next is, these are all great ideas that the board has presented, and what we're going to do is we're going to prioritize these. That's our next move. And then we'll decide what interests the board. And now's a good time for me to just remind all of us that everything goes through the board. That if we have ideas or concepts, we're going to bring it to future agenda items so that the board can decide whether they want to proceed with it or not proceed with it. But everything goes through the board. So I just want to make sure that statement is clear, and we all have a clear understanding, which goes back to communication from Ms. Whaley, that she brought that up. But just a reminder, everything goes through the board. Mr. Herrera.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to add, Jenny brought up a good item. The board's mission and statement and values. I don't know, for some reason, I don't know if the rest of you, maybe you guys remember, Dr. Bailey, that single sentence, we must have spent 2 hours on that. So I think it deserves some credit to bring that back to the new board members. I think that's a great, the mission statement and values, the redesign of that for Washington Elementary, that was a huge, I mean, we spent hours on that thing. It was the wordsmithing, and I think Nikki was here at the time too, but it was just a long time. So I think it definitely deserves some revisiting, because there's such a big, I mean, it's just, what, 2 sentences, Paul? But that the words of the meaning of the mission of the Washington Elementary School District, I mean, there's just so, I didn't realize everybody felt so, has a strong conviction, I guess, to say is the best thing, towards those words. So wanted to make sure we recap that at some point. And then also just the last 2 items. The first one's going to be procurement, because I heard that's definitely, it's been one of my, back things in the back that I always wanted to take a look at, especially with somebody new coming on. We have so much history and so much knowledge. It's with Kathy. We definitely need to be apprised of what it is, how it works, and that sort of thing. Because the way, I mean, it's almost like a government entity. The way it works. Any tax collecting agency has that, and there's so many rules with that. And then the last thing is I know it's gonna light some eyebrows up, but I want to see to maybe to see if the board is interested in a bond money override oversight committee. And that's only because the way it sits now, and I know that there's a couple of people that look at the spending and it's got to go through so much stuff, but I think that there's a lot of interesting aspects to that bond money. Everybody from the taxpayer all the way up to whoever works out there to knock on doors, to when it comes in, how it gets funded, and then where that money's spent and how projects are prioritized. I mean, everything from curtains to milk carts to computer parts to chairs. It's just very, very, very interesting. And I know we have some really good people that are in charge of it. I just would like to have some type of different, additional oversight on that, to kind of see if the board is interested in that. That's all. Thank you.
Are you just looking for an educational piece on how the component works from the, once the board approves to go out for a bond, what the process might be?
No.
Is it an educational piece?
No. I'm looking at something additional. I'm looking at something long-term in place where you have an actual, kind of like the employee trust board. There's an actual, somebody that's.
Well, we're governed by statute on all that, aren't
No,
we?
I understand that, but somebody that's actually looking at, hey, how that money's, spent, and to making sure that some of these contracts, when they go out, that, if we have, for example, if we have an architect that, is helping us, advise us on how to, hey, you can put a new driveway here, and then all of a sudden we come back a year later and we have to spend money on additional items which should have been caught. How do we evaluate that? Because I don't think currently there's no oversight on how, these contractors, and they mess up or they don't do something right. I mean, in the last few years, we've had so much construction happen, and when you go out to these schools, there's a lot of value engineering that Mike does that isn't he isn't given credit for, and he works so hard with the principals that I think that really needs to be highlighted and also put into place for in case Mike leaves, or something, or actually, hey, let's
What's a short title for your study session?
bond oversight.
Okay, thank you. Lindsay?
Yeah, thank you, President Adams. If I could just add another thing, I think Larry hinted at it, but just that student retention piece, we know that we're in an area of declining enrollment, and, just a study session on that, and then also teacher retention or staff retention in general.
Thank you. Anybody else?
President Adams?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for directing this. I am not driving, just so everybody knows that I'm being the state track meet. And I echo what Ms. Peterson said, and echo Ray. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Whaley?
Kind of along those lines, and I think it's something that we talked about before, but it goes with communication too, but publicizing, or how can we showcase the great programs, campuses, staff, things that we're doing here as a means of attraction. I'm not talking about mailers or anything like that. I'm more talking about how can we create a campaign of some sort, and what are some ideas that we have to really highlight some of the things that we're doing. I think we've done a good job over the last year or so, especially with social media, that's continued to climb. But I think that students and staff, it's by attrition, and if they see the positive things out there, it's like you see it enough times, you start to want to go there. So I'd love to talk about how we can kind of reintroduce Washington to the community, and take an opportunity while people are getting back to normal after being in these remote places, of how we can maximize that.
Is that a marketing campaign? Would you consider that a marketing campaign?
Yes, that's a good way of putting it, I guess.
Anyone else? Well, team, you did a great job, and they are great suggestions, and very, very much appreciated. So, Ms. Tucker, do we want to email this out, or do you want to have a conversation?
No, it's been captured, both recorded, and I've taken notes, and so I will type it up and send it out to be prioritized, meaning everyone will number
So
which
what-
one that they,
Thank you. So
Yes.
what's going to happen next is we will see, the five of us will see the list that we just created, and we're going to put numbers to it, and we're going to prioritize it. And then the findings will come back to all of us, and that will establish what our first three, we'll start, we'll try to jump on the first three, obviously. Does that sound fair to everybody, just to start this off?
Yes, I do have a question, President Adams. I was wondering if we could do a pulse check in terms of when we think a first one could be. I know we were having a hard time with June, and I think July. Can we kind of talk about what a goal timeframe would be to do this first one, in terms of schedules? I know we're all here to talk about, so if does August or September seem doable, or, I would just like to have like a goal time frame in place before we leave, so that we can kind of start looking at our calendars and planning accordingly.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to look at mine until I get back to my office, and so I can't commit to, I apologize, without it before me, and with a lot of conferences coming up, I don't know what my availability is, so I'm not going to be able to answer that question at this time. So, but board members, you can chime in, you know. Now, we do have a 4-hour on June, I have it right here, June 8th, from
Okay.
4 to 7 is going to be, that's next month, that's going to be our first one.
Got it.
But we also, during that one, Dr. Stan, do you have plans?
President Adams, board members, actually, we can work around this. This would actually be a possibility. I mean, normally, since we have 2 new board members, we usually do external factors or factors that impact the district so that everybody kind of knows where we are. Usually, we give a legislative update, which is also the factors. And then, depending on the needs of the board, we could actually bring some of this in. I think, yeah, Ms. Tucker, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to, we were scheduled to also do the self-eval that we've done in the last few years.
And I'd like to propose that the last couple of years, barring last year, we've used ASBA's, I'm sure they still have it, they have a Survey Monkey maybe? I'm not really sure what they use, forgive me. But it was a great little tool. And I think it was, at the time, it was like $200, whatever it was, but it was a really good tool. And it really enabled us to sort of hone in on subjects for us to discuss. So without objection, I would suggest that we utilize that same tool again. Board members, anybody have any objections to using ASBA's tool? Thank you. All right, so, but I also want to mention on that June 8th meeting, will we have an opportunity to have a brief conversation with our key personnel that are going on to bigger and greater passages?
We can certainly agendize that if the board wishes. We could say farewell to those that are.
What,
Going on.
not only do we want to say farewell, but I'd also like to hear their thoughts and.
Oh, sorry, you want to hear their thoughts?
I
Yes,
really,
that's
yeah,
one
they're
of the
going on to
concerns.
bigger and better things, and I'm still in this wonderful seat, so.
No.
I do want to hear what they have to say.
Actually, that's one of the reasons why we scheduled it June 8th. We do have new folks coming in. However, the institutional knowledge of Kathy and Justin would be helpful to gather at that
Please.
moment, especially for our new board members.
Thank you.
And then that would also give a chance for the new employees to hear our board. So Danny, for example, and Steve could actually hear the board discussion too. So kind of almost a transition, but it would definitely give the institutional knowledge so Kathy and Justin could speak.
Great. I'd also ask the board to consider possibly, we didn't know how this first one was going to go. We didn't know whether an hour was enough or what anybody would have to say. But maybe starting at 5 o'clock, just think about it. If you can start a little bit earlier. We all know that everybody works. We need to be respectful of that. And Shannon will ask if we can possibly start it a little bit earlier to get more time in case we need it. Does that sound good to the board? Everybody shake their head yes, or Mr. Herrera?
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was just going to say, that sounds good. I was just going to add to Ms. Whaley's comment. I think in July, right before the semester starts, the school semester starts, would be a good time to, just take a pulse. Just because that's the beginning of the school year, and we can kind of get, we can get pre-numbers, and then we can kind of go over the SAT scores, and then where we were at last year, and then kind of just check the scores, and it would give it definitely, the teachers come in on the 2nd, and then administration comes in on 26th. So right before
My birthday.
mid-July, right on your birthday, that would be a great day. Yeah.
Yes.
Then we'd
And
have-
I won't be here, guys,
You know
so.
what,
July.
President Adams, I will suggest we do on my birthday, which is July 16th, and I'm totally down with that if we get sandwiches from Shannon. Okay, maybe not, that's fine.
Well,
Anytime in July, that would be a good, time. That would be definitely a good time to get.
Well, for the
everybody
record, I
back.
turned 65, so I'm probably not going to be in town.
Well, you look 35, so.
Thank you, sir. That's good. All right, so that's a great suggestion, and I thank you. And again, Ms. Tucker will work around everybody. So I think we're actually going to close this down, if that's okay with everyone, unless anyone has anything else to add. Again, our next we're going to call it a major study session, June 8th, between 4 and 7. And the subjects, besides what we just talked about with the institutional knowledge of our great key people that are bailing on us, we'll also add in whatever our priority is and see if we can tackle one of those also. Board members, I can't thank you enough for this past couple months. And again, the grace that you've provided and the knowledge and the leadership that you've shown under a pandemic situation. We worked as a team. While we weren't able to, Jenny, I remember talking to you about team building. I'm still waiting for the invitation for the cocktails, which I shouldn't say on an open mic, but still. Or pop.
We were gonna have a team building activity, Mr. President, for your birthday, but you ruined the surprise, so thank you.
Well played, and happy birthday to you. Well played, well played. So, okay, with that, without objection, I'll call for, I'm going to recess, I believe. Yep. So may I have a motion to recess? Or do I
So
need-
moved.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so the entire board just seconded that. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are recessed, guys. Be safe, and we'll see you at the next session.
And you don't have to watch testing. Oh, it's muted. She has it muted, but as soon as the light on, you don't have to put it close, literally. Again, I hope.
Thank you. I'm just reviewing real quick. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good to see all those smiling masks. Didn't come out right, but hopefully one of these days we'll be able to take these off. But I'd like to call the regular meeting into session, and I don't think we need a motion, correct? We do, okay, roll call, please. Start.
Governing Board members present, Governing Board President, Mr. Bill Adams, Governing Board Vice President, Ms. Nikki Whaley, Governing Board members, Mr. Larry Herrera, Ms. Jenny Abbott Bayardi, and participating remotely, Ms. Lindsay Peterson.
Thank you. And at this time, if we may, I'd like to call for a moment of silence and meditation. Thank you. Would you all please stand for the I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I please have a motion for the adoption of the May 13th, 2021 regular meeting agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. May I have a motion for the approval of the April 22nd, 2021 regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Current events and acknowledgments. Board.
I'll go first.
Thank you.
Oh, there's a lot, so I'm going to let people spread it around, 'cause there's a lot to do. But wanted to take a moment to thank the administration for including us on the Lamp of Learning. We have all been able to, we've all tried to attend a couple of those, making that event special in lieu of a formal event. So I'll let Mr. Stanton talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, we had teacher appreciation, but we also had school nurses week. And as a daughter of a ER nurse, I am very grateful for the nurses that we have here in the district who, especially during this time, have taken on extra roles to track and keep an eye on our kiddos in terms of their safety and well-being. So I think that's all I'm really going to say for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Board members?
So I was able to kind of wrap up my school tours. I attended Choya Middle School with Principal Phil Gerritsen, where my sons actually attended for the Flex program. So it was wonderful to be back on campus. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, Mr. Gerritsen always ends the day with announcements. And then he says, when the bell goes ding ding, you go bye bye, which is very catchy. Even my 21-year-old son, when I say, when the bell goes, he goes ding ding bye bye. So anyway, it was great to be back on the campus of Choya. And then also I then had a meeting with Paul and Pam and Councilwoman Ann O'Brien to discuss the needs of the our school district within the city area here. She's and actually Ann and I went to grade school together and high school together, so that was fun to see her again. Then I was able to attend Cactus Wren with Principal Michelle Hall, and then I was able to watch a little bit more about the autism program that's there, and then the plan to eventually bring every grade level there in one spot, which was wonderful. They are amazing. They have these little aprons, and the way that they run everything for the kids is just outstanding. So that was a lot of fun. I went over to Manzanita, and Principal Ashanti Givens was there. They have all the new windows, and new windows make the school with the paint job look brand new. It's everywhere I go, they tell me about windows, and this is the first time I've seen those beautiful windows, so money well spent. And then they also have the CCB program there. I was able to learn a little bit more about that program. And then I spent a little time with Head Start and Search to Serve over at the kind of the New Beginnings old Mountain View campus, and I spent time with Diana, Debbie, and Michelle, then ran into an old friend who is a part of that program as well, where our kids were in preschool together, Pam Rohr. And then spent a little time with Principal Daniel Fisher over at New Beginnings Academy, which was really very informational and educational for me to sort of know the process for our kids and how to get them back into the classroom after they've made some poor decisions. I went to Mountain View and was with Principal Jill Serrano, I'm saying, okay. And boy, she's a dynamo. When I saw everything, all the different classrooms up and down the stairs and so forth. It's a beautiful school over at Mountain View. The kids are wonderful, and I really enjoyed my time there. And then I ended at Lakeview with Principal Tim Woodward, who was at Choya when my oldest was there. So it was fun to visit with him, catch up a little bit, and I just had a wonderful, I know it's almost like a tour where you go and eat everywhere across the world, but I really had a wonderful time at all of the schools. And the outstanding work that everyone is doing, from transportation, Mr. Spellman, to the gifted program. I also was able to spend some time with Kathy Gentry in the EL program, and it was just wonderful. I really, really believe that we have such great energy and enthusiasm, and everybody's working as hard as they can and as smart as they can. It's been really kind of an awful year, but everybody has pulled together wonderfully. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I was unable to attend the last meeting, and I want to thank Mrs. Whaley for facilitating. I was able to watch it afterwards, and you all did a beautiful job, and thank you. You did a great job. But for the last couple of weeks, I've had the great opportunity to visit a number of schools myself. Last month on the 14th, I stopped in at Tumbleweed and met with Kim Gesner. Am I pronouncing it properly? And she was wonderful. And actually, we talked about so much. I made a whole bunch of notes, which I'm not going to go through right now, but I have submitted them to Ms. Tucker for the record. So it was just wonderful spending time with her. Did the ASBA virtual event between the 21st and 23rd, and also got an opportunity to watch Ms. Whaley again, and she, again, another great job. So thank you for that. And actually walked away with some thoughts in regards to equity. And so it was very healthy for me, because it actually made me think about a number of things. Sunburst, Jennifer Dial, again, amazing. And I'm not going to go into the lamp of learning. I participated in 10 so far, but the administration has done every one of these. Pam and her team, where's Pam? Is she here? So just wonderful, what the traveling lamp of learning. And again, I'm not going to go into it, but it is an amazing, we're so sorry that we can't have dinner with all these very gifted and talented administration volunteers. Anyways, just thank you for allowing me to, and I see a number of us are there, and when board members go, we support, we represent all board members. So it's not, we represent everybody. Abraham Lincoln, Rhonda Warren, known her for years. It was great spending time with her, and going over the history, and when it was Sanitas, it used to be, right? So, yeah, I was one of those parents way back when. But anyways, great stories. Saguaro, Michelle Mowry wasn't able to make it, but I was with her coach. Please give me her name real quick. Amy, yes, great last name. Yes, great last name. And there was another, somebody from Acacia, I believe, was covering. I didn't get her. Yeah, yes, and both just fantastic individuals, passion that just runs it, just amazing what they were doing. Campuses look beautiful, every one of them that we've been to. And as we went to the Lamp of Learning, may I say that the campuses again look beautiful. I can't wait to hear your comments, Dr. Stanton, on that. And that's it from me. Thank you, sir.
President Adams, members of the board, members of the audience, as has duly noted, it is a busy time of year. Thank you, Jenny, for able to attend Council Member Ann O'Brien's right after she got in. She met with us. Common topics we talk about at the city level is crime suppression, affordable housing, and livable wages. And I would say Councilperson Ann O'Brien was definitely on board and wants to help us out. So great, and thank you for being there. I do want to thank Kathy Gentry. Last night was our EL family engagement activity. I got a chance to tape ahead of time, got to sit in with Dr. Bailey on a few of the sessions, and I want to thank her team for trying to really focus on, highlight the successes of our EL students and provide strategies for the EL families to use at home. So if you could please give the kudos to Kathy and the team, we would greatly appreciate that along the way. Before or after our last meeting, it has been Teacher Appreciation Week. So I do want to say we've got some teachers back there. I can see everybody. Hello, Mindy. Hello, Sarah. Thank you, guys. We can't say enough. Thank you to our staff, our teachers, the community partners that all in so many different ways celebrate our teacher appreciation. Got a chance to start, myself and Pam Horton with Kathy Hoffman. Superintendent Hoffman asked us to be on a task force for the readiness of schools. It'll be a committee that really focuses on a marketing plan statewide to try to get kids to come back to school. And so thank you, Pam, for being there and helping out as well. I do want to, I went to my, I think this is my 4th or 5th Native American parent meeting, and I want to thank Carrie and Lori D. and Deidre. They are doing a really amazing work to work with our various nations, and it's fantastic. To Mr. Adams, your point, I think the Lamp of Learning visits have been incredible. We can't have a large dinner, but having the whole staff or a lot of the staff come out, a lot of times I never realized, but that might be the chance the classified staff gets a chance to see an award winner and be a part of it, and it's just been fantastic. Thank you, Pam, and everyone who's been a part of that along the way. Also got a chance to stop by my pencil pal, 6 years in a row with my pencil pal in Mountain View. It's a different kid every year, but I want to thank, they do an incredible job over there with the pencil pal program, Karen O'Keefe, and those guys as well. Just a couple more, Mr. Adams. We worked with the high school for drive-through registration in our middle schools, and I want to thank Dr. Bailey and the principals for allowing the high schools to come in and work on registration with us. That was really thankful for that. And again, the Lamp of Learning events, we can't say enough. We will eventually have a dinner someday, but the key is to honor those individuals for the hard work that they put into it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And also, Dr. Bailey, I saw you at a lot of the traveling Lamp of Learning Awards presentation, and you were there also, so thank you for representing the administration also, and very kind. Ann O'Brien, just a little bit on Ann, she's an old friend also. She's also our ASBA president. So she's got the trifecta because she's also the president of Deer Valley. So she's very gifted, very talented, and she represents our district very, very well. And I encourage everybody to reach out and say hello to her. She's got an open door. She's an amazing individual. Thank you for that. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to recognition and celebration. And with that, I believe I hand it over to you, Dr. Stanton.
Mr. President, members of the board, members of the audience, a new tradition is our Golden Board Award. And so we have a few departments here this evening we'd like to recognize. I think you all have those that are going to be presenting the awards. So I'll start with the Finance Department. Can the Finance Department please come forward? The Finance Department includes thank you. The Finance Department includes accounting, budgets, and payroll functions. The department consists of 15 staff members. Under the leadership of Rochelle Corey, Interim Director of Finance, these staff members worked extremely hard to ensure that all normal processes the entire district depends upon are effectively continued. Some of the key functions you should be aware of. They ensured that 1,200 refunds were issued to parents for trips and other items when the pandemic required cancellation of many of those trips and activities. Ensured that over 3,300 employees continue to be paid every 2 weeks and adjusted as necessary for the many changes in how people were paid due to changes in duties throughout this year. Ensure that approximately 30,000 vendor invoices are paid in a timely and accurate manner while following all internal control processes with limited staff. Maximizing budget capacity for the increased needs of equipment and supplies necessary to keep our students and staff safe. And finally, constantly adjust budgets and expenditures to appropriately utilize the number of new grants received this year and provide relief to their operational budget. We'd like to thank Rochelle Corey and her whole team in the Finance Department.
I was going to have you guys step over here
Thank you, guys. Now we'd like to honor our management information systems. Would Mr. Laurence please step forward? The goal of the MIS department is to provide and maintain uninterrupted automation and communication between our local network users and all school district locations. The department, under the leadership of Chris Laurence, consists of 25 staff members who work diligently to ensure the students and staff have the technology and software necessary to complete the required tasks during this very challenging year. They also maintain appropriate application software for the district to function in an educational business environment. Some of the key functions we'd like to highlight: timely, orderly configuring and distributing over, first last year, 19,000, and then this year, an additional 5,000 Chromebooks for our students' use during distance learning and in the classroom. Procuring, configuring, and distributing 3,000 hotspots for our students and staff that did not have access to internet. Replacing lost and broken student devices as necessary to ensure schools had what they needed. Provide support to teachers to ensure computers were operating in a sufficient manner. With increased operations being online, the department was focused on monitoring network for safety and security of our systems, and finally, continuing to implement the classroom technology portions of the bond plan. Thank you, Chris, and your whole team. Thank you, Chris. And we're going to last but honor the Transportation Department with Mr. J.J. Spellman. Please come forward. There is no greater responsibility than the safety and safe transport of our students. The Transportation Department is an integral part of the education of all of our students within the Washington Elementary School District, as the school bus is an extension of the classroom. The Transportation Department, under the leadership of James Spellman, consists of 157 full and part-time employees. Some highlights from this year: they delivered the hotspots so those students had reliable internet connectivity for distance learning. They assisted the Nutritional Services Department with staffing support to provide the grab-and-go meals to our students. They delivered those meals to many, many apartment complexes. They provided staffing for on-site support, which we had to do at the beginning of this year, and kids-based learning camps throughout the school year. Completed additional maintenance tasks and landscaping services, so when we had to put them to task when they couldn't drive, they actually helped keep our campuses maintained, as you mentioned, Mr. Adams. Continued to provide daily transportation for students attending specialized programs. Experienced a smooth transition when students returned to the classroom after spring break. JJ, we cannot say enough. Thank the Transportation Department for us. Thank you.
Thank you. On a side note, during that time, I had a great opportunity to... All right, everything okay? So I had a great opportunity to go down and visit with one of Chris's personnel, Renee, who was kind enough to walk me through some stuff. I can't say thank you enough and congratulations on the award. But while I was there, I got to say hello to JJ, and he walked me around, and we got to go into the bay, and he gave me a tour. So JJ, thank you. And I understand that at one time you actually helped do a remove and replace a transmission. Am I correct? Yeah. So that's leadership for you. So gentlemen, thank you for what you do, and thank you to your teams. So now we move on to public participation. Stucker.
President Adams, yes, we did receive one request for public participation. That request came from Victoria Romero. Victoria Romero resides in the Moon Mountain Elementary boundary. She said she would like to address the governing board regarding the mask mandate and also educational funding and curriculum. Hello, I have a couple questions. First, the mask mandate with the district, how long will it be lasting? And also, will it be required when school starts in August? If so, what choices do parents like myself have with children that are under 5th grade and choose not to put masks on their children due to health concerns or conditions or religious grounds? What are our options? Second is in regard to educational funding. How do we as parents find out how the funding will be coming, where the funding will be coming from, and how can we be a part of helping make a decision about educational funding? And third, where can we find a more detailed curriculum layout about exactly what is being taught to our children? I would like to say thank you to the board for taking the time to address my questions and hopefully answer them.
Thank you. And Dr. Stan will have an appropriate response.
Mr. Adams, as always, we will follow up those. Thank you.
So much. And we appreciate hearing from the parents, so thank you. All right,
Mr.
so,
Adams, don't you read a preamble to that?
I'm sorry.
Don't you read a preamble to that? Doesn't the vice president have to read a preamble?
Oh, forgive me.
The vice president has to read it.
They weren't in person, I
They
apologize.
weren't in person,
Not
so.
in person, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Herrera is correct. Normally when somebody is here in person, we read out a statement. With that, let's go ahead and move on to consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull any consent agenda items?
President Adams, I'll pull item B, personnel.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Okay, with that, may I have a motion to approve all consent agenda items except for item B? As presented.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through J with the exception of B.
May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Ms. Whaley, would you please take care of consent agenda B, please?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent item B.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Ferrer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Great, that's passed. And Dr. Stanton? Thank you.
President Adams, members of the board, with the approval of the personnel items, first we're going to take care of one from the last meeting. Ms. Kathy Thompson will introduce Ms. Kimberly, I hope I said that right, is it Dugdale? Oh, I got it right, thank you. So Mr. Kimberly Dugdale, Director of Finance, come on up.
I'm so excited. We have a director of finance again. So excited. Kimberly comes from WSD with over 20 years of experience in the field of education. She has certification or degrees in accounting, secondary teacher, curriculum instruction and assessment, as well as educational leadership. She has been a high school math teacher, a math and reading specialist, professional development coordinator, but she's also served as director of finance at St. John's Unified School District for the last 4 years. So what she brings to the district is just phenomenal. The assets she brings to us, I'm so excited for the district. The governing board approved hiring of Kimberly at a previous meeting, and she just started working just the last week with us. She's been here only 2 weeks, but I already feel like she's just become a part of the department. It's like she's been here forever. So she's fitting in great, and I've been able to turn over a lot of stuff to her already, so it's kind of awesome. But anyway, I'm really excited about what she has to offer the district, and I think that we have a whole lot of good fortune moving forward. Thanks, Kimberly.
Thank you for approving me and allowing me to come to your district.
Welcome to the family.
Mr. Whaley asked, we did, well, here's it, actually, here we go. Matches. And Mr. Adams, before we move on to our next, I received word that the noises you heard were the transportation staff outside with air horns for JJ.
Well played. That was well played. That was good.
Mr. Adams, with the approval from the board of the consent agenda items, we'd like to have Justin Wing introduce Tom Hancock, Director of HR.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas Hancock has a BA degree in elementary education, master's degree in administration and teacher supervision. In the school setting, he's been a teacher, curriculum specialist, assistant principal, and principal. He has 7 years of school district human resource administration experience, facilitating employee negotiations, managing employee relations and evaluations, overseeing recruiting retention efforts, to include initiating an attract and retain task force while he was at Peoria Unified School District. He also launched Substitute Services when he was the Vice President of Educational Services, Inc., otherwise known as ESI. Many neighboring school districts continue to use that provider. Dr. Edward Murphy, for many who know him, his mentor and past supervisor, has shared Mr. Hancock is a truly gifted administrator. He treats all people with respect and dignity, and he exercises exceptional administrative judgment. Welcome to the WESD family, Thomas.
President Adams, governing board members, Dr. Stanton, cabinet, and those in attendance. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am excited. I know I have a lot to take over with the innovations that Justin was continuing to work on and the great work that he did. I'm excited to be joined and serving with Mr. Steve Mattingly, the Executive Director of HR, who I've known for many years. And I would just like to thank my family and kids for their support. Justin was joking with me that his kids watch on YouTube and the live feed, and I could pretend that, but I know they're on Netflix. So I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to serving the community with all of you. Thank you.
Welcome to the family. Okay, with that, we want to, we've approved our gifts, so I'd like to acknowledge our donors. Kelly Walker, Kroger Inc., Arizona Game and Fish, Target, and Verizon Foundation. Thank you so much. It is so very, very much appreciated. And with that, I'd also like to, forgive me, very good. I'd also like to acknowledge the artwork that we have in the back. And we have artwork from Abraham Lincoln Traditional School, Chaparral Elementary, Saguaro Elementary, Sweetwater Elementary, and Tumbleweed. And there is some beautiful artwork back there. I wish everybody could see it. But we're very fortunate to have this artwork with us right now, and we thank them. So now I go into recessing the regular meeting, and do I need I do. So may I have a motion to recess, please, for public participation?
I motion to recess the regular meeting for a public hearing.
Thank you so much. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Herrera, thank you so much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. And so now we go into, Dr. Stan?
Ms. Thompson will present the revised annual expenditure budget number 2. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Dr. Stanton. For those of you who are, during the public hearing, those of you who are watching from home, you can ask questions about the expenditure budget in the comments section. So if you have questions, please put them out there and we will answer them for you. I bring to you the final revision for the school district expenditure budget for this year. It is due by May 15th to ADE. You did approve in the month of December the required revision based upon the loss of enrollment of our students for this year. So back in December, you'll see the page we have up here. I'm comparing what you approved from what now to what you did in December. So in December, you did approve a reduction in budget of about $9 million for the loss of enrollment. This budget is actually the final revision for this. Is where what we utilize in this budget is we move expenditures where they needed to be based upon things that happened over the year. This budget revision actually includes the final reduction for distance learning. For our district, that's about $3.7 million. You'll see on this sheet here that it looks like our actual reduction is only about 3.1 million. That is because some of our Group B funding, the special ed numbers kind of adjusted a little bit over the last couple months, so that helped us offset that reduction just a little bit. So the final reduction we've done to the budget in tonight that we're asking you to approve tonight is about $3.1 million more. So therefore, over the year, we've had to reduce about $12 million out of our budget. If you scroll down then, Shannon, to the bottom part for the capital, that's also included in this final budget revision. Not a lot of change to this budget, except for what we have done is we've revised in the budget capacity that was remaining last year that we did not count in our original budget. So you're going to see a budget increase. That doesn't mean we received any more money. It means that we added in finally any money that was left over last year in our capital budget. I wanted to stress to you that even though we've made many reductions in the budget this year, we have not cut anybody's budgets. What we've done is we have had to move budget out, but that was only in the areas that we have been able to offset expenses with the ESSER and ESG grants. So some of those areas include like utilities, internet service, transportation. All the time that they were not doing transporting students and they were working in on-site services, we utilized grant dollars to pay for their salaries. So their budgets look really low because we've moved a lot of budget out for them, but we didn't cut anything from them. We did, however, based upon these reductions, we did lower the spending. We cut off the spending a little bit earlier this year than normal, because up until a couple weeks ago, we weren't sure what this reduction was going to be. So we did cut off spending a little bit earlier than normal. Again, that's a very general summary of the budget. It is our final revision, and we do have to have it submitted by the 15th to ADE. So if you have any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Tucker, do we have any?
This is, during the public hearing, we have activated the chat, and so we're waiting to see if there's any questions from the audience. Nothing so far? Okay.
Okay.
No comments from the public thus
Okay.
far? We can wait a second, and then we can go back into regular session, and then that's when the board.
Sure, let me know when.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Thank you. So, I'm going to go ahead and recess public, this public meeting and bring us back in. Do I need a motion to bring us back? Okay. So, that brings us back into our governing board meeting for action discussion items 9A, approval of the 2020-2021 revised annual expenditure budget number 2. Kathy, is there anything you want to add?
Just
So
answer
we-
any questions you have.
Okay. Any board members, any questions for Kathy? Mr. Herrera?
Yeah, I wanted to, Kathy, on page 2, the average teacher salary. So is there a reason why we skipped 2019 on this for fiscal year? It goes from 2018 to 2021. We showed the average salary, 2020, the average increases since 2018, 22%. So basically from 2018, it was 42,771. Now it's 52,161 average. But was there a reason why we skipped 2019?
The requirement of putting that 2018 in there, that's the year, that was the year before we started the 20 by 2020. So we had to put where we were at before the governor gave those dollars, and then now we're reporting on an annual basis, just current year and prior year. So that was before they started the 20 by 2020. That's where we were at. So you can see that that greatly increased our teacher salaries with that, with those percentages of dollars coming in.
Yeah,
Good question.
Yeah, definitely it's 22%. And then the next one was the M&O, the all funds for federal, 6330, page 4. It doesn't have a number there. Is that just?
You're on page 4.
Yeah. Expenditures budget for audit services?
We have to audit for our federal grants, but we pay for it out of our M&O budget. We don't pay for that out of the grants. Okay.
Okay, so it's just different. Okay, thank you, that's it.
Dr. Stan, did you have something?
Mr. Adams, I believe Ms. Peterson had a question.
Oh, Ms. Peterson, please.
Thank you, President Adams. Thank you, Dr. Stanton. I just, as far as educating myself, how, is this a regular thing that we would see these revisions throughout, before the final approval? Is this just a normal process, or is this something different because our current year is a little bit, challenging, shall we use that word today?
Very good question. Actually, every year in October, we receive a letter telling us whether we are within our limits for our budget or whether we exceed our limits. And sometimes we do exceed our limits that we estimated if we have less students than we had anticipated, if it reaches a certain dollar threshold. So sometimes you will see a revision in December, and sometimes you won't. It depends on how close we got in our estimates. We always have a revision in May because there's a lot that happens in your budget throughout the year. We allow schools and departments to move budget from codes to different codes throughout the year. So we need to make sure that we have budget in the right place when we finalize the year, because the report we do that we give to you at the end of the year on the annual financial report, it needs to coincide with where we have money in our budget here. So that's why you will every year see a revision in May. That's the final time we can make any adjustments to our budget. Very good question.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Ms. Welly?
Thank you. Not really a question. I just really want to stress for anybody that may be listening or coming back to watch these, how truly remarkable it is that we have a reduction of $12 million and we have not had to let go of anyone. We have not had to pull back things that people were expecting to get. And that we were able to do this so through no cuts, through moving budget savings from one area where we weren't using it to an area where we're using more of it than anticipated. And then, like you were saying, the strategy of reducing spending a little bit earlier in case any new numbers came in that was even more than we anticipated. So that kind of expertise we're going to miss. But I know that you have trained and will share with others how you are doing this. But I just really want to stress to our community, to our teachers, to everyone that's kind of paying attention, the amount of hard work that went into making sure that the impact of this wasn't felt nearly as much as it could have been. So thank you.
Federal grants helped a lot.
Yes, getting those extra dollars in definitely helped.
Thank you. And any other board members? And Ms. Thompson, I echo Ms. Whaley. It's all these years, it's just been amazing what you've done for us. And yeah, there's some big shoes to fill. So, said with much respect, you've just done a heck of a job. The fact that we didn't riff anybody, we just kept on going. It's just amazing. I can keep on going. Thank you. So with that,
Mr. Adams, may I say one thing more on the budget? Just one more thing?
on the budget,
Yeah, just one more thing.
this is going to be the only opportunity I ever get to say no to you.
It might work.
Again, well played. Ms. Thompson, please.
I just wanted to comment, we did reduce the spending early, but not only did we stop spending a little bit earlier than usual, but I actually went to the principals and talked to them earlier, before those deadlines, and I asked them to please only buy what you needed to have. And that's what they did. And so I just thought that that was important to comment, because they did. They would call me and say, I really think I need this, or can I go ahead and get it, and I don't know, you don't always get that cooperation, and so I just thought I would comment on that too.
So, well-played team. Thank you. So, if there's no other comments to be made, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion. May I have a motion on the budget? The revised annual expenditure budget, please.
President Adams, I motion that the governing board approve the 2021 annual expenditure budget revision number 2 and authorize subsections to be exceeded, to be provided that overall maintenance and operation budget is not to exceed as per ARS 15905G.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I will second that one.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes. And thank you again, Ms. Thompson. So we're going to move on to 9B, Arizona School Board Association proposed 2021 political agenda. This is something that we go through every year. The ASBA is our association, and they represent us down at the Capitol and legislatively. Ms. Tucker, did you want to do anything with this? Did you want to explain what we did or how we went about?
Yes, of course, President Adams. What I can bring up on the screen is ASBA sends out an email to all of their member districts, and they ask them to review last year's political agenda, and then to come together as a board and discuss it and see if there's any prioritization that you would like to place on the agenda items. And so what we did is I sent the document out and asked all board members to review and send me their priorities. And so I've taken ASBA's document, I've just highlighted where our board has outlined that they would like to see as a priority. And I can bring that up. As soon as it opens here.
Ms. Tucker, is that part of our board docs, or is that only what you have?
No, it's in there. It's under this one is the same version, it's just under administrative because I've done the highlights.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay. So you'll see here, this is the document that we received from ASBA. And what I've done is I went through, and I'll increase this in a second, but I just highlighted the areas in which I received selections from individual board members. So let me increase this. So under adequately and equitably fund district schools at least the national median per pupil, you'll see here that the responses that we've gotten, we have 3 individuals. 3 people chose the first one, maximize state funding. And then the second bullet here, revise the school finance formula. You see that there's 3 here, 2, 3, 2. And I can scroll down and go on, and depending on how you guys want to discuss this and decide. Previously, like I said, the discussion, we just need to, ASBA asked to submit 5 priorities. You are allowed to give 2 additional ones as well, so technically 7. Or you can decide that you don't, as a board, want to prioritize any of them and just go forward. We've done that in the past as well.
Thank you.
I'll just quickly scroll through so you could see the areas that are highlighted that were selected.
Yeah, Ms. Tucker, I'm sorry, we don't have the highlighted version here, but thank you very much. Ms. Williams, do you want to add anything to this, other than, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just trying to follow along because I didn't get to see everything that the board picked, because in our board agenda packet, the highlighted version is not attached.
It's under administrative content. That's where I just pulled it from in board docs.
Okay.
Are you logged in?
I am logged in, and it says administrative contact, political agenda, new layout, but at any rate.
Yeah, it's the second one. There's 2 items there under administrative content. One's called history, and the other one says 2021 political agenda, new layout.
That's fine. I'm just having, it's having some formatting issues. I see it
Okay.
now. Thank you.
See, I can have a copy here.
No, I didn't have anything to add. I think you did a good job. I will say that this is really important for us. All of these things, just to give you some background, this is a long document. This is the ASBA political agenda. This is all the different things that are important to, or have been expressed as important to, member districts. But what they really do is they look at those ones that come in, and they look at the priorities, because of course they can't tackle all whatever 50-something things that are on this at one time. They also use, just for some background, they use it on also kind of what the temperature of the legislative, current legislators are. So if there's something on this agenda that they think they can move given the situation, they move on that. They may not move on something that they don't think they have, it's not the right time or it doesn't have the right thing. So they do use it to prioritize, but then it also gives them a little bit more leeway that if, for example, something on here sparks up and there's interest in the State House or the representatives, they can go after it, because as long as it's on this agenda, they can go after it. But the priorities really do help them narrow in on what overall people are particularly interested in.
Thank you. This is their direction for all, it's Chris Carterman and his team. And it gives them exactly what Ms. Welly said in regard to giving them direction on how to go. And I'm appreciative of all they do down there. Chris has a great team. If nobody has anything to add to it, or has any questions, we'll just go ahead and make a motion to approve as presented.
President Adams, I actually do have a question.
Yes, please.
So this is something that we approve every year around this time of the year, and we get this, and then we choose. And every school district does this, that's a part of ASBA,
Members of ASBA, yes.
right? And then, isn't it possible that every single bullet would be,
It goes
from all the
before-
school districts,
right.
would they not pick every single thing on there?
They've asked for five, what our priorities are.
Right, but all the districts, I'm just curious, so how do they then choose if every single one of these is highlighted by all the districts combined?
The association has a government affairs committee, which consists of, it's a large committee.
So then they
So
choose.
then they scrub this, they take a look at it, and together they'll take a look at the priorities. Then they'll go back, I think at the delegate assembly, they'll present this, and then we'll have a representative there and an alternate. And we will be given, I believe, the formal, what the recommendations are.
Okay.
And again, I think we could still, and I'm going by memory here, so, and Nick, jump in anytime. Then you'll go by, you still have an opportunity to possibly, from the floor, make another recommendation. So it's really scrubbed and re-scrubbed.
A lot of scrubbing.
It is. It's a lot of work. And they really do it right. And again, they represent us well down there. So, great question.
So
because
then and then we do this again next year when we,
every year.
Every year.
And so you got it we got it a while back to review.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So,
So now I know what we're doing. Thank you.
Ms. Welly.
So yes, we do have a delegate assembly, so one of us will represent the district. Each district, no matter its size, gets a vote at the delegate assembly, and they will decide the final version, because yes, there could be a ton of different people that pick different things. That's why it is important, I believe, for us to pick our top 5 priorities. Otherwise, we're just going to go off of everybody else's top 5 priorities. Chances are, many of the things that we selected will be selected by other districts, but it's another vote for the things that we want ASBA to prioritize. So I would not want to, we can't just as presented, because we think we have more than 5 here, correct?
Yes, I was actually, may I? I'm sorry.
I didn't know we had more than 5. I thought, oh.
This is what was identified from various board members, but when you count, there's actually 7. So if I may make a suggestion, there's several that have 2 or 3 votes. Those could be the 5, and then there's 1 or 2 that has the 1. Those could be those additional. That way they're all submitted.
Sounds good
Unless
to
there's
me.
others that.
I think it sounds wonderful.
That sounds like a good idea.
President Adams, can I ask a question?
Please.
Maybe this is a question for Ms. Tucker. So this one bullet that says revise school finance formula 2, those bullets underneath it, that would all count as one item then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so without objection, or in fact, I need a motion to move forward as Ms. Tucker just explained, or as presented.
I move that we move forward as Ms. Tucker just
Thank you.
explained.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion before we close it out? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, motion passes. And again, we'll have more opportunity when we'll probably go over it again before the delegate assembly, because those issues will come up, and we're going to have to instruct our representative for the delegate assembly and their alternate on how we wish them to vote, so that a member doesn't go down there and just go, hey, I want to go this direction. They're going down to represent the board. Sound good, everybody? Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Thank you, everybody. That was very helpful. Dr. Stanton, we're going to go into 10A, COVID-19 update, please.
Mr. President, members of the board, members of the audience, as we've been doing now through the COVID pandemic, we've been providing updates regularly. So I'll start around the dais with Dr. Bailey and what's happening in our operations of our schools as a part of COVID. Dr. Bailey.
Thank you, President Adams, Vice President Whaley, and members of the board, as well as participants that are still here. I'm going to actually delve into 3 topics tonight: summer school, return of Chromebooks, and parent and student surveys. And As far as summer school, I have previously given information on the programs that we've been having in the 32 summer schools, but I wanted to actually highlight some of the other programs that we have this summer. One of the programs is called ESY, which is Extended School Year, and that is for some of our special needs students, that this helps them retain the information that they've already, skills and information from the year. So the ESY program is actually at Sweetwater during the summer. We also have a refugee program at 3 schools at Alta Vista, Maryland, and Palo Verde, and they're looking at specifically the skills to work with those refugee students. We have a Native American or Indigenous program at actually 6 schools, and really working with students, again, that particularly at their skill level and their interest level. We have a gifted summer school program at 2 schools, at both Chaparral and at Lookout Mountain. Again, really looking at that population. We also, in the afternoon at Lookout Mountain, have an enrichment program that actually dovetails with their gifted program, but is open to all students at Lookout Mountain. At 2 of our schools, City of Phoenix has a wake-up club at Sunny Slope and at Mountain View. And then during the whole summer, for June and July, our kids-based programs are open at Sunburst and Lookout Mountain. So I wanted to just highlight some of those other programs because I think that they're particularly important for some of our populations. Return of Chromebooks. If a student came back in person on March 22nd, they actually brought their Chromebook back with them. But we have had a number of students, needless to say, that are staying online. So our Chromebooks, there's a whole process, and our Chromebooks are coming back a return the afternoon of the 25th, which is when school is their last day, through the 28th of May. And what the schools are doing are scheduling times that they can, that the Chromebooks can be returned. Then we have a process that we're going to actually evaluate the Chromebooks to make sure that they're not damaged. They're actually then going to be processed and put into our Destiny type of system, and to make sure that we have the inventory for the fall that we need. So that is Chromebook return. We also have put out parent and student surveys. The student survey is based on the Panorama survey, which is a social and emotional type of focus. And that actually opened up for our students on Tuesday. It will finish next week. 14 of our schools have already started that process. We also have a parent survey that went out last Friday, and that is very similar to the survey that we've had in previous years. We are looking at next year of actually contracting with Panorama to actually move our parent survey into a more social and emotional focus. At this point, I looked at the parent surveys. We had 580 surveys that have been returned. Just looking at the percentages, we actually asked the parents to grade our schools, and so they actually gave them a grade. 60% gave schools A and 30% B, so 90% of our schools were rated A or B by our parents. I will, as soon as the final numbers come out, we will make sure that the board has the final numbers on both the parent and student surveys and be able to break down some of the information to disaggregate that data. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, with the continuation of our COVID-19 update, I will have Mr. Wing talk about our HR department related to the pandemic. Mr. Wing.
Good evening, Governing Board. Specific to COVID, 2 main things, and it's repetitive at this time of the year, and that's staffing. Yesterday, I believe you received our current teacher vacancies. We have about 40 of them, teacher vacancies. Almost half are special ed. And to give you a quick update, Department of Ed has shared with me that bridge program we recommended was initially going to go to the board on May 2nd. It's going to go May 24th. I did share with them our teacher vacancies too, as a hint. So we'll see May 24th how that goes. The other thing that's keeping me busy, and I know Mr. Mattingly and Dysert, is unemployment hearings. Department of Economic Security approved a lot of unemployment last summer, and for whatever reasons, and they're backpiled, and now it's starting to hit school districts, so we're attending many of those. And that'll be it for me.
Mr. Adams, before I move around the dais, Mr. Wing, when you talked to AD, I believe you did share, so if you would share the board, that are there many districts with the special ed issue as well, the shortage of special ed teachers?
Yeah, a few responded back and said that they're hearing loud and clear from other districts throughout the state the concerns about the well. We have about the same number of vacancies as we did last year. It's the well's getting drier, so the number of vacancies look comparable. It's the well is not as comparable as it was last year, which wasn't very great either. So I know that's a concern of theirs as well.
Mr. Adams, members of the board, before I move around, that's why, again, this district has been very innovative when it comes to what we call our bridge program. We have our general ed bridge first one, we're going to have our general ed second, and then we have our sped bridge, which is why we brought the sped bridge, because if we can use the term grow our own, that will try to help with the situation we have here. In fact, we have, I believe it's 3 sped paras that have degrees, so we are looking to hopefully get this approved to start moving some of those folks forward. So, Mr. Adams, in the continuation around the dais regarding COVID, I'd like to have Mrs. Mora update under academic services related to COVID-19. Mrs. Mora.
Thank you, President Adams, governing board members. First, I'd like to start with an assessment update. As you know, we've been administering the AZ Merit assessment, and we've discussed some of the challenges with having about 7,000 students remaining online and just all that had to get done. I'm happy to report that as of today, most of our schools have about 90% or a little bit higher tested, which is pretty amazing given the challenges that we've had in getting that done. It once again just speaks to the organization of the campuses, the dedication of the teachers, administration, in really finding ways to complete this assessment. We did receive a waiver from, or the state of Arizona received a waiver from ADE, so that 95% testing rate that we're always held to does not come into play this year. So that kind of eases some of the concern about whether or not we'll get there. But as I reported, most of our schools are close to 90% or a little bit higher. So we've done an amazing job as a district to get that completed. Once again, the focus will be really using these results to help inform parents where their students are, help us to make some good decisions about how we allocate resources or interventions that need to happen for our students. But once again, we realize that this data has some things that we need to take under consideration given the year that we've had. The other piece I'd like to report on is that we did put out a pre-enrollment interest survey for our families that might be interested in continuing in a distance learning model when we come back next year. As of 7:50 tonight, which I just checked it a few minutes ago, we have 129 students that are looking to possibly continue, and we'll continue to accept parents that are interested in that. So we'll be watching those numbers as well. Short update on the FACE committee work, our Family Community Engagement Committee that has been working collaboratively with some of our other committees. Our focus this year was really looking at attendance. This was actually something we had started pre-COVID because we do want to make sure our students are in the classrooms and are in attendance at school every day. The work that's been done by the committees has been a collaborative effort. There was a steering committee that was put together, and we moved through this topic and discussion from lots of different angles. And so the climate and culture team has come up with some great interventions that they'll be sharing with the schools, tiers to support students in helping when we get back to school. How do we get students through the door? How do we help them appreciate the importance of being in school every day? We've been looking at our data processes for making sure that we have accurate data reporting so that schools can really take a look and know where their students are in that process. Along with that, we've been focused on how do we really promote the good things that are happening in our schools. So part of the Family Community Engagement team working collaboratively with Lena and Pam in the Communications Department, we came up with a Stronger Together piece that's been on a social media campaign. And so if you've seen some of those posts recently that have been on Facebook, very inspiring. We've had our teachers submitting stories about what this year has meant to them and how they've continued teaching. We've had parents that have been sharing information. And recently we had an amazing young kindergartner from Ocotillo who shared his story about what distance learning looked like for him. So I can't thank Pam and Lena enough for those posts that they've been putting out there. And here again, this committee felt very strongly about the best way to help families come back to Washington is to make sure they understand the great things that are happening there. So that's been a campaign that will continue, and they're looking to do weekly posts with that. So Stronger Together is something to watch for those posts on there. Also, we started talking about what would be the focus of FACE next year moving forward. And so a conversation that we have started and will prioritize is how do we look at equitable outcomes for all of our students and staff. And so really looking at the equity, diversity, and inclusion and what that looks like in Washington Elementary School District. We have started an initial conversation with that, and just similar to what we did with the attendance piece, we formed an internal steering committee that will now look at creating additional committees that will involve families, parents, community members, students, and really start tackling this conversation of what does equitable outcomes look like for all of our families, our students, and our staff. We started focusing on looking at what the Arizona Department of Education has designed as an equity framework and looking at those 6 goals that they've outlined and helping that to start framing the work that were in the conversations that we're going to be having. We did have several staff members attend the Our World training that is offered by the Arizona Education Foundation, and so we'll be bringing some of those components back in too. So we'll be looking forward to really beginning that work on equity under the Family Community Engagement Committee and reporting future outcomes of that committee. So with that, I would like to say thank you.
Mr. Adams, again, continuing around the dais, related to COVID-19, Kathy Thompson will provide an update from Business Services.
Thank you, Dr. Stanton. Most of what we've been doing with related to COVID is kind of winding down. As school gets toward the end of the school year, we don't have to order a whole lot more, cross our fingers, a whole lot more sanitizer and all that kind of stuff. We still are utilizing outside vendors to help with some cleaning when that's necessary for emergency type stuff, but most of what we're doing is kind of winding down. The only thing that we're really working with still is how we're utilizing these ESSER dollars that are coming in. We hope to spend down most of that first ESSER grant, the $7.3 million, by the end of this fiscal year. The second ESSER grant has been mostly allocated, and we will begin spending some of that this year, and then a lot of it's planned for next year. We still do not know the amount we'll get from the most recent grant allocation. That should be coming to us within the next couple weeks. We learned a few more guidelines yesterday in a meeting I was in. I think what will be happening now is we'll begin starting the planning, working with stakeholders on what's the plan for how we're going to approach this all the requirements within that grant, and a lot of that focus there is on your helping students get back to where they need to be educationally and social and emotional and things like that. And there's some very real targets within that grant that we have to meet. So we'll begin working with stakeholders to develop our plan. So.
Mr. President Adams, members of the board, members of the audience, I'll conclude our presentation related to COVID-19. Ms. Thompson, if you'll put up our current metrics. As she puts those up, times they are what they are. Actually, unfortunately, we saw a little uptick in our numbers. And so if you look closely, last week our cases per 100,000 was about 70, a little over 70.65, and this week it's moved to 72.29. What I did see was the percent positivity went from 8.51 and then moved over to the 9.05%. So we are using our 5 strong mitigation strategies: mask wearing, hand washing, social distancing, and contact tracing, and then constant cleaning are the areas that the CDC as well as the Maricopa County Health, they're very much aligned in that work. And we just sat through, again, the Maricopa County every Thursday has their update. What I do want to say for everybody that saw on the news, the Pfizer vaccine has been approved for 12-year-old and up. Our sister district, Glendale Union High School District, just received a survey from Maricopa County Health yesterday to become possibly a pod again. It is available at all the state locations. I believe it's the Coyote Stadium now because they're going indoors, et cetera. But we'd like to look at it at the schools as well. The other thing they reported that I mentioned last meeting, they believe that by September, we should be able to get children ages 2 through 11 as well. Obviously, in Arizona, it'd be ideal if we could do that in August, but at least they're shooting for a target in September. And as I mentioned before at the board, Dr. Bailey and many of our staff were here back when SARS 1, or we had to deal with the SARS original issue. And so if called upon, we have knowledge and ability to how to, those that choose to vaccinate, to give them those vaccination opportunities along the way. Then I'd like to just follow up, my last part is we started some focus groups today, and I'd like to thank Ms. Fernandez, thank you back there. We had our 3 through 6, grades 3 through 6 students, focus groups being obviously smaller, asking specific questions. As Dr. Bailey mentioned, our student survey will have some social emotional questions on it to all of our students, but we did ask them what worked well with distance learning, what did not, what worked well with face-to-face learning, and what did not. And then finally, what would you recommend we be able to do come August that will help with your student experience? And obviously, we had 2 sessions today. We'll be having, Ms. Fernandez, about 12, I think, or so, about 10 or 12 with the students, and then about 6 or 7 with the parents. We'll also be doing 6 o'clock parent meetings with representatives from those families. It was a very diverse group of students. Some of the trends we heard, just so you know, was what worked with distance learning or what didn't work, depending on how it was. They liked Google Classroom. They didn't like the glitches. So the students were having some glitches along the way. What do they like about face-to-face? Human interaction and seeing their friends. What I thought was interesting was that they needed more mask breaks because of the heat, but many of them were okay with the mask because they were protecting their families when they went home. That actually came from multiple students today. That was an interesting trend. We'll have to see if that holds up in other places. Then they went into suggestions for next year, different types of courses. They do like typing. Ironically, the young folks said they don't like handwriting and they wouldn't mind typing, particularly longer essays. So again, an interesting trend when you deal with distance learning for the first time. And some of our students from the refugee population actually brought that up. I was very interested in talking to this young man quite a bit to learn why he felt that way. Those are early trends. Obviously, we'll bring to the board many, many more along the way. Just to note, for those of us that aren't, and I respect our teachers dearly, and I learned a lot more today, and the students share with me, Dr. Stanton, would you please stop moving around so much? So if you're in a stationary position, but you move around your camera, they notice that. And so I had to learn by the second session to stand still. For anybody who knows Dr. Stanton, that definitely is something I need to work on. So I appreciate the kids' candor and honesty. So that concludes our report. We'll take any questions from the board.
Board members.
I have a couple questions. First of all, with Dr. Stanton, you said grades 3 through 6?
That was today, yes.
We don't want the junior hires?
No, sorry. So the schedule that I sent to the board, Ms. Biardi, is there is
We do love junior hires.
We do, absolutely. I was a middle school administrator for many years. We will be meeting with the 7-8. By the way, the groups are 3-6 face-to-face, and we'll also do 3-6 distance learning only, and then 7-8 face-to-face and 7-8 distance learning only. Ms. Fernandez made a big and passionate plea for K through 2, but we know that would have been a unique situation, so we'll get their feedback eventually, but yeah, so.
Does this happen within the next 2 weeks before they get out of school?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
Yep, about an hour each, and every kid speaks. We give everybody the opportunity to speak.
Awesome. I don't know that the junior hires would have a problem with you moving. And then for Justin, I have a question. Is the base salary for special ed the same as the general ed?
Yes, it is.
Is that, just out of curiosity, is that like a standard norm always in the world of education?
The world of education, base salary for teachers are typically the same regardless of position type.
Okay. I was just curious if it's a thought to, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but to maybe talk about in the future.
The interest-based negotiations team
Yep.
has reviewed that or considered that, or even a stipend in the past. We used to actually have one in the mid-2000s. It didn't actually give us the data that we hoped it did. Plus the recession hit, so we had to make adjustments anyway, and the stipends went away.
Right.
I know some other districts have provided stipends. Just through my research, it hasn't produced, there's still a teacher shortage.
Right.
And special ed's always been hard to fill, regardless if there was a shortage or not. It just exacerbated the situation. We need more people to go into special ed teaching.
Yeah, right. So, all right, so that's good to know. And then I did have a question for, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members? Ms. Welly?
Thank you. I have a couple questions. I think the first one is on FACE and the second year. I know you're talking about the second year focus. Is there going to be, can you walk me through the team and if there's going to be a pause between you moving from the current focus to the second focus to re-recruit people? Because I think at the last time I saw it, the percentages were much higher on the staff and very, very little on the actual family and community. I'm just wondering what the numbers look like now and if there's going to be a readjust before you proceed forward.
Yeah, governing board members, Ms. Bailey, we definitely are looking at the configurations of those committees and those teams. So this year it was much smaller scale because of COVID and the inability to meet face-to-face. But our FACE focus committee did have a higher percentage of parents on them than we had in the past, and that was something that was a goal that we definitely wanted to make sure. So we had about an even number of staff to parent ratio. We also had classified staff represented. Moving forward, we definitely want community and parent involvement. So as we begin to form these subcommittees that are going to be looking at different pieces next year, our emphasis will be on recruiting community members to be very much a part of that. And we're going to look at methods and ways to really get that message out there that we want that participation.
Thank you. The second one is kind of a question and a comment. So the comment is that I'm really happy to see some of the things that we're doing, like the FACE team, and then the folks that are going through some of those trainings. The use of the Paramore those are all great things. But it does seem a little bit still kind of disconjointed. And so, for example, I'm just concerned, and I know we're getting started, so I'm just, as we move forward, to start bringing that together, because we're talking about, so diversity just means you have that's a natural. We are a diverse district, there's nothing about it. But that's different than equity, and that's different than inclusion. Equity is looking at your systems, inclusion is how people actually feel within the system. And so I just noted that it seems like it's separate. Like, for example, we have these fantastic summer school programs, but they're a one-off. They get to happen in the summer, and they're siloed. Why aren't we providing those opportunities in the school year for all students to experience different folks? So just something to think about as we're getting into the new year, and I'm sure that's something that probably will come up at a study session or something down the road, especially given the ESSER dollars that we need to spend, and its social, emotional, and its achievement. My understanding from Kathy, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, is they're pretty lenient in terms of how they're using that. I know that there's certain standards, but professional development around how to connect with students and different backgrounds can lead to increased social, emotional, and increased academics. So I would ask for folks to consider using, some of that funding for that.
Board members, anything else?
I just have one other question about the surveys for Dr. Bailey. So you said there are 538 surveys that have been returned, and what do we know what schools have returned them about? Like what percentages have returned them? What ages the students are in those families? And yes.
We do have that disaggregated, and I put an update daily, and so I usually put that out to the principals, and really trying to promote the surveys, because the more surveys you get, the better statistically. So I'm a little concerned it's only 580 because we have so many out there. So and I know that they're really trying to promote that. It's interesting, in fact, when I was doing my update tonight, I was saying to the principals, the assistant principals, and the administrators, we've really bombarded everybody with surveys. So, I mean, I think they're up to here right now, to tell you the truth. And so we need to calendar those in a more synchronized type of manner next year. So I'm feeling bad that we are bombarding them. But we're putting an effort through social media, through pop-ups when you come to the website to really fill them out. So we have about, I think, about 5 or 6 more days left. So we'll really try to promote those. But I'll be able to give you exactly, disaggregate the number of schools, that all of them have actually have surveys in, but the number that have really have higher percentages. And
Is that something we can go over at the retreat, possibly? That
Right,
information? It'd be more up to date. And then, are these just parent surveys?
those are the parent surveys, and then but the students are filling them out during the day.
Okay,
Third through 8th grade.
The kids are turning in more.
Yeah, and
And-
actually the teachers are working with them,
Right.
setting time aside, probably about 10 or 15 minutes to fill out the survey.
Yeah, because you could get like a raffle for a free, mask-free time outside for 10 minutes. If you all, whoever
There
turns
are
in.
incentives that we can look at.
I'm a very creative marketer, and we can come up with some goodies. I'll give them some snacks right now, in fact. So, alrighty, thank you so much, Dr. Bailey.
You're welcome.
Lindsay, do you have anything? I can't see the screen, so, no, you're good?
She's enjoying listening. Thank you, President.
No, I can't see if she puts a note in.
couldn't see her. I'm like, I think she's. It's been a long time.
I can keep this meeting going forever. There's, I want to thank everybody for their updates and all the comments. The ESSER dollars, I'm glad that you update us on it. It helps if we know where those dollars are going to. Maybe there's some opportunity for us to possibly have some input in that if that's at all possible. We don't talk much about masks, and I don't want to get into it right now. But maybe that's something for a future agenda item, maybe at our study session.
Did you say mask or
I did, masks, because it is such a hot item, and it's very sensitive, and I believe that the way the CDC came down today still keeps us as boards and administrators to catch-22, because we're going by the science. We've agreed to go by the matrix that are before us, so here we are trying to keep everybody safe, and then we have the CDC coming out and saying everybody on masks. So it's confusing, it's difficult, and maybe we need to have another discussion at the board level on, just to confirm so that we have a message to give to the public, and the board can, and it'll be the board's responsibility, but we should all have a conversation. Nick, are you raising your hand? Okay. And I thank you for allowing me to say my little piece on that, but I can just assure the public, everybody that's listening, it is very, 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 it's very difficult to navigate these waters. And we hear you all, by the way. If no one else has anything else to say, yes, sir.
I had questions for the COVID. Dr. Bailey, the chaperone lookout locations for the gifted, is there only 2 sites for the summer, and how long is it? And also, is it for all the district?
It's for all the yes, it's for all the schools, and it's June 1st through the 24th, and that it's 4 hours each day.
Monday through Friday?
I'm sorry?
Monday through Friday?
No.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Thursday. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's just the 2 sites, but it's all grade levels, right? So
Yes, all grade
so
levels.
it's similar to Saguaro, the one in Saguaro?
Yes, so it would be for both the GLC at Saguaro and also at the Flex, but also any student Project Potential, and also we have students that have been part of the Project Potential type of programs that are, quote, not classified, but it is open to them also.
Oh, okay. And then the project potentials are the ones that are nearing the gifted, right? Okay, gotcha, okay. Thank you. The other one is for HR. Justin.
Alrighty.
The sped bridge, The current participants, how many do we have on that? Just curious.
Well, it hasn't been approved yet by the Board of Education, so we have not advertised it like we would, which is why I shared with the board, and the governing board approved it pending Board of Education approval, because if May 25th comes, we're going to start recruiting. I want to say we have 4 to 6 people internally with a degree in another field that we can't commit with a contract yet because we're waiting for that date, but once that date comes, we'll have 4 to 6, don't quote me, but I think it's around that range, ready to go, 3 in one school, ready to go that we'll have, and then we'll be able to promote it, ask employees to share with their friends and family because they may pique some interest.
Oh, okay, good. And
And if you know anybody, let us know.
yeah, I was kind of wondering. And also, you didn't say anything about the Begin program. Is that still, are you guys still working on that, or?
I mean, we've had the Begin program for over 30 years. We're going to continue the Begin program. I know there's a Begin committee that evaluates it, makes gradual changes in progress. We got to stay up to date.
Okay, but that's still
But
going
not
on.
related to, it's not as, it's a definitely a recruiting tool, but the Bridge program allows us to hire individuals that we can't hire now because of federal and state guidelines.
Ms. Moore, do you have any updates on Begin?
Just governing board members, as Mr. Wing mentioned, there has been a committee just to look at it. It's been an amazing program and something we're very proud of all these years. So we will be continuing the Begin program. We've had great participation even in this COVID environment of online. We do feel that it's very much an effective tool in preparing our teachers to continue. We know that there's always that 1 to 3 year concern that we lose people, but our Begin program has really helped us to retain our employees and support them. So we are very excited to continue that program further.
Okay, so then you don't have an idea of how many participants are in that at this time?
Off the top, Mr. Wing may have a more accurate number.
I mean, I believe, because we have a 3-year program, Begin 1, 2, and 3. It depends on how many you have to hire every year who are new to teaching. So I got to imagine 100 plus
That's what I
in
would,
each
yeah.
of the Begin 1, 2, and 3.
We are going to be looking at them because the AD has the new they're not new anymore, but they have the standards, and so we're doing an analysis to make sure that our program aligns with the state standards related to teaching and learning.
Okay, I was wondering, because usually they graduate around this time, so.
Actually, Mr. Ferrer, glad you said that. We've been trying to work on that. The issue, as you can probably guess, as Justin mentioned, when there's 100 in each class. So they're working on how to make it safe to do that program. But I think they're going to Begin 3 virtually, if I recall.
Yeah.
Because the class is our largest class, so we're going to have to do some of it
Begin 3 are
virtually.
the last.
You're doing individual PowerPoints.
That's
for
right.
each one.
That's right, because of the issue. So normally, you're right, we are normally over in the Hopi Navajo rooms, but unfortunately, the size of these things don't make it till we can put all those people in the room safely.
It's tough to do a lot of celebrations.
Sure.
That'd be one of them.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, if there's nothing else, I just want to take a moment to thank Pam Horton real quick before we adjourn for her directorial debut with helping us with filming our promotional speeches. I believe that I will probably get a Oscar nomination. She was so good, she made me do it 15 times.
Oh, my God.
And yeah, she was amazing. And,
That's all?
yeah, really. Well, I couldn't see the screen. But anyways, Pam, thank you so much for the help there. I just wanted a quick shout out for thank you. Are there any future agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like a future agenda item once we, probably after it counts, but on the Bridge, Begin, Start, how are those, all working together, and which ones are we keeping, and all of that?
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I do have a future agenda item, and I don't know if this would be covered during the retreat. I'm guessing it might be. But from Dr. Stanton and I'm not sure if I'm wording this correctly, but to have a report about, that includes exit interviews from positions that are directors in the district who are leaving, specifically, and then in addition to that, any other personnel. I know it might be really difficult to get all of that information put together in such a short time, but if there's some pearls we can take and maybe learn, I don't know. I'm fumbling, but does that make sense? Thank you.
I'll follow up with you in detail and we'll get, yes, thank you.
We got time. Got anything else? No. Okay, no one else has anything else? May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Thank you, sir. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Be safe. We're closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.